Over the last few years, I've upgraded through a lot of different gaming peripherals as my daily drivers, but I think my current setup is one that I'll be using for quite a while. Now, the importance that your gaming peripherals have on your actual gaming experience, I think can actually be a bit overstated at times. It's really easy to start approaching the point of diminishing returns where, let's say you buy a $400 set of headphones, it's not really gonna make your gaming experience that much better than, say, a $100 pair of headphones. Having said that, having a gaming peripheral setup that you're comfortable with and that meets your needs can improve your gaming experience. I personally do feel like I have reached that point of diminishing returns with my current setup here, and that's one main reason why I want to share it with you guys today. So I want to start with the keyboard. This is a completely custom build from the ground up. It costs probably a lot more than you think, but I regret absolutely nothing, and this is why. So this is my first fully custom mechanical keyboard, and I think I finally understand how some people can sink so much money into these things and why it's such an addictive hobby for some people. So what I've got here is a compact 60% mechanical keyboard with lubed linear switches in an aluminium case. This entire build was around $350 US, which compared to off-the-shelf Razer or Corsair keyboards is about double, but the typing experience in my opinion is totally worth it. There are some components and features on a custom build like this that you'll just never find on a mainstream gaming keyboard, even the top tier ones from name brands. Now here are all of the parts that went into this build. You'll need a case, a plate, the PCB, the stabilizers, the switches, the keycaps, and of course a cable. So not only is this more expensive right out of the box than just your Logitech or Corsair keyboards, but you do also need to consider the few hours that it will take to build it and the couple of hours at least learning how to build it. The PCB that I've gone with here is the DZ60. It's a fairly straightforward 60% PCB with USB Type-C, and it's got a really customizable layout. This PCB does require soldering for the switches, but there are a few hot swappable PCBs out there on the market that do not require soldering. They're just a bit harder to find in stock. Speaking of the switches, this is probably one of the main reasons that you'd want to build a custom keyboard in the first place. For example, the switches that I've gone with here are the Gateron Telios V2, and you just won't find this type of premium switch in an off-the-shelf keyboard. The Telios are said to be some of the smoothest linear switches that you can buy, and I actually went an extra step here and lubricated the internals of every single switch. It took forever, but definitely worth it. Here's a quick sound test. So by lubricating the switch, you can completely eliminate the plastic on plastic friction between the stem and the housing walls. It also creates a slightly quieter switch operation, which I personally prefer. Now, another area that mainstream gaming keyboards have yet to improve on are the stabilizers. These are the components underneath the keycap that prevent it from being lopsided, and the problem here is just how loose and rattly these sound on mainstream keyboards. So I modded the stabilizers on my custom build here to give a much tighter and more pleasing sound. This involves clipping, lubing, and then adding a layer of Band-Aid onto the PCB. I'll leave a link down below to a video that explains how to do this properly. And lastly, we have the keycaps, which are again completely up to you, seeing as this is a custom build. This is definitely one area where you can sink a ton of cash on a custom mechanical keyboard. The set I've gone with here is the Max Keys SA Miami Nights, mostly black, which I like, but a bit of extra character which this build definitely deserves. For those wondering, the layout of the keyboard is completely customizable. I still have access to the function row, arrow keys, and so on. A completely custom keyboard like this is definitely not necessary, but after building one myself, I can definitely appreciate the additional features. Alright, now moving on to the headphones, here I'm going with the Sennheiser and Massdrop HD58X Jubilee. This is probably the ultimate sweet spot in terms of audio right now if you're looking for a premium gaming headphone, because for $150 these are seriously unreal. Also at just 150 ohms impedance, you won't need to go spending additional money on an amp to drive these. That's something that I'm a big fan of. That means that you could also potentially use these with your phone, tablet, laptop, no problems there. If I had to describe the sound of these headphones, it would just be one word: clean. These headphones sound super clean, nothing sounds overemphasized or messy, especially the mid-range on these headphones, which they do exceptionally well. Everything sounds close, immediate, and very precise. They're also extremely comfortable for multiple hours of use, and build quality is mostly plastic, but they still have a nice premium feel. I think if you're spending more than this on headphones for gaming, then you're definitely venturing into the territory of diminishing returns. Beyond this, you start to get into true audiophile gear that's more targeted towards critical listening, and then you start accumulating even more gear like amps and DACs. And lastly, my current gaming mouse of choice is the Logitech G305, probably the most forgotten about and underrated gaming mouse at the moment, simply because we've been flooded with so many other options out there. I personally prefer smaller mice as I find them a bit easier to aim with, and since this is also wireless, I can flick and swipe with this thing so quickly without the hassle of a cable. Now usually this mouse is powered by a fairly heavy AA battery, but by swapping to a AAA lithium battery along with an adapter sleeve, you can both reduce the weight of this mouse and increase the battery life dramatically. This gets the weight down from around 100 grams down to about 80 grams, making this a lot easier to aim with. The single AAA lithium battery that I've got in there at the moment, I've had in there for at least 2 months, and I use this mouse every single day for about 10 to 12 hours, so battery life can be pretty insane with this thing. Another thing that's pretty insane here is the price, and that's one reason why I'm saying this mouse has kind of been forgotten about. This mouse is only $40 US. Now, although the shape isn't for everyone, this is more suited to those who prefer a claw grip or fingertip grip when gaming. For a small, lightweight wireless mouse, I consider this right up there with the G Pro Wireless. Gaming mice are definitely a lot more subjective though compared to a mechanical keyboard or headphone. Hand size and grip preferences are the main factor here, not so much the amount of money that you're willing to spend. For example, I have tried the super premium Razer Viper Ultimate, and while this is a very feature-rich gaming mouse and I'd consider it the best overall wireless mouse at the moment, it doesn't really suit my grip preferences. And so that is the gaming peripheral setup that I'm currently working with and that I'm personally super happy with. If you're interested in any of the gear here, including the parts for the mechanical keyboard, I will leave those down below in the description. As always guys, a huge thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.